Texan Mariano Talavera, wearing a military-style jacket, carrying an American flag, he stormed into the Islamic Center of San Antonio, where he then started rubbing his dirty boots all over prayer mats, cursing out worshipers. Talavera claimed he was just there to worship, but officers, of course, didn't believe him. They arrested him for criminal trespass. You know, Jose, we're seeing these cases more and more. What do you make of this? He said he was just there to worship, but then, you know, not taking off the shoes and cursing people out.
Of course, he's falling into this Islamophobia sentiment. In the same state not too long ago in Austin, we have this case and another mosque, people, deface with feces the place, showing completely disrespect, showing that makes Christians and other religions that engage in this behavior no different from ISIS. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole problem, is they're equating this to a religion, and it's a terrorist group that is creating this fear. It's a terrorist group that is creating these attacks like the one we saw in Paris, but yet we see that here in Texas, people take it like it's the Muslims and creating this sentiment that we need to fight and we need to denounce.
Well, this is coming, of course, on the heels of the IS terrorist attack in Paris. And then, of course, our president saying, you know what, we're still going to accept Syrian refugees here in the U.S. People are, you can feel the palpable fear here, because these people that belong to this mosque, they didn't even want to press charges against this man from outright fear of the backlash that would happen to them. That was in this report. You mentioned that we're seeing cases like this pop up. I know here in the Lip we covered the case in Virginia where they were planning on building a mosque, and a man shows up at that meeting, calls them all terrorists. You know, that video goes viral. Also on the cover of the Washington Post today, a Muslim man who appeared to be Muslim was walking to the grocery store, and face lacerations, cracked cheek. He was assaulted because of the turban on his head and his beard. So we're really seeing a lot of hatred spilled out. What do you make of this rash?
Imagine being Muslim in America right now. When you hear the leading GOP candidate saying that you're going to create a registry for Muslims, that they have to abide, that they're going to have to identify themselves on their clothing so we know that they're Muslims. That you hear that the Congress is passing laws to prevent Syrian refugees from coming in. That you hear that they want to stop being American. Just those values that create this country, let's just throw them out the window. Let's accept the racism, the xenophobia, and the Islamophobia, and let's use it to change. I'm surprised, because if you see what Trump is saying, we are about to see things that even a year ago were unthinkable. When you hear the leading GOP candidate for president say those words, and you're a Muslim, and you see this, you are very afraid, and we shouldn't be engaging in that. We should fight that sentiment, and we should fight those that are trying to, magnify the idea that Muslims are a risk to this country. Because they're not. The risk are terrorists. They're not Muslims. We cannot equate one to the other.
We're seeing a troubling resurgence of violence, much like we saw across the United States against Muslims, and those appearing to be Muslims following the September 11th, 9/11 attacks here in 2001. Jose, I don't see this going away anytime soon, and unfortunately, mosques just like this one, they are refusing to even press charges. People are afraid to even press charges against the trespassers for fear of backlash.